So this is a fun little segue, maybe into what the research that you've done. But can you guess the name? Can you guess the name of the distributor, the first distributor for Samuel Adams?
Like his actual name?
The company
Name of the company?
The name of the company.
Oh my gosh, it's got to have to do something with Boston, right? I would guess.
I don't know. Might be closer to home than you think.
Really? No, I have no idea. Inspired by the adventures of our nurses, therapists, and techs, A Beer with Atlas is the only healthcare traveling, craft beer drinking podcast. Each week, we'll open a few beers, talk about the brewery and the style of beer, and then dive into some research curated specifically for each episode. In the end, we hope each one sounds like a conversation you'd have with your friends while enjoying a few cold ones.
Welcome to another episode of A Beer with Atlas. I'm Rich.
I'm Brian.
And episode number 50 is special for us. So can you believe it? We even made it to 50 episodes.
50 is amazing.
We're
We're halfway to syndication. We only need 50 more. We're 100.
Perfect.
We'll be able to retire and live off this money.
Absolutely. We make a lot of money doing this, right?
Yes, something like that.
Episode number 50 special, and I saved this one specifically for this episode, Samuel Adams Boston Lager. And I know we talk about a lot of craft beer on here. We've done some mainstream beers too.
Yes.
So let me ask you, before we get too far into this, do you still consider Sam Adams a craft beer?
Well, it's kind of a trick question, I think. But I would say as long as they're still owned by the same people, if they're not an InBev purchased place, then yeah, they're craft to me.
Jim Koch owns 100%.
Then yeah, for sure.
So, and I mean, as much as they're publicly traded, Jim Koch still calls the shots. So the original guy that started it all in his kitchen in 1984.
Yeah, then for sure.
Yes. Okay. So here's why it's special to me. So Sam Adams, it kind of kicked off my beer journey. And it was in conjunction with my brother's 40th birthday. The Cubs were playing the Red Sox, so interleague play. We were playing the East, and so we went out to Boston and went to Fenway Park. And I needed a book to read on the airplane because that's what I like to do on an airplane. And I thought, well, we're gonna go. I had just kind of started down the craft road just a little bit.
Yeah,
and
pinky toe was in the pool.
Just tried it out, and I saw. And I found Jim Koch's book, and I thought, okay. And a couple of brewers that I know had recommended it to me as well. And so I picked it up, and I read it on the airplane and in the hotel room, enough that my wife said, you need to put that book down. So I since read it again. If there was one guy I could meet, like in business right now, if there's one guy I could meet and kind of just share stories and drink a beer with, it'd be Jim Koch.
That's cool.
I have a weird man crush on him and how he started, and it was a great journey.
Yeah.
And
I can tell that book's a little old because first of all, it's a book, which, normally that's
right.
You didn't read on your tablet or your phone. So that's,
right.
right there.
Yep.
It looks like it's been paged through pretty good.
Just a couple times. I've got the tops kind of
little foxed up there. Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be a good idea for a show for him. Or people like that, like brewery owners, like a beer with the owner, and then like they bring in a couple of guests and talk about whatever. That'd be kind of. Wouldn't you go there?
I would.
If you got the invitation, they'd be like, "Hey, come out next Friday and shoot an episode of this."
I would leave right now,
Yeah,
and then I would
fun.
sleep outside waiting for that day.
You're like, you don't have to camp here. You're already confirmed. Doesn't matter.
No, it's okay. I'm fine. I'll be okay here. Don't worry about it. So, just brief history on the brewery and Jim Koch. Founded in 1984. Jim Koch was working for, I believe it was, and I have to go back and look in the book. He was an investment firm.
Okay.
Type
so
of guy.
not in a beer racket or anything.
No, but liked to brew and liked beer. But he knew there was kind of something missing. And that was about that time that, Miller Lite came out. And, there was little shifts in the beer market already.
Yeah.
But everything was pretty much just Budweiser and Coors. And
I think people take that for granted, like what it was like when there wasn't Bud Light or Miller Lite. When Miller Lite showed up and it like just blew open the whole game.
Yeah.
And that was only 30-something years ago.
Not
crazy.
long ago at all. No. So he told his dad what he wanted to do. And his dad said, "You're insane. You're making
That's
good
what
money."
good dads say.
Right?
Yeah.
And Jim was like, "No, I want to do this." And he's like, "Okay, come upstairs." They went to their attic and they found his dad gave him his great grandpa's recipe. I'm looking here for his grandpa's recipe for beer for a German style lager.
So that's what this is?
And so that's what Boston Lager is.
So that's because the guy, how old is this guy, Jim? Is he in the 60s probably?
Oh,
now?
I'd say probably, yeah. Yeah,
So
he's
this
probably
is
in his 60s.
Probably a 100-year-old recipe, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so his grandpa brewed it, and so that's kind of where Boston Lager came from. In those first couple of months of brewing, I mean, there was, like you could about imagine, like he had bottles popping open and, stuff like that.
Oh,
like
yeah.
any kind of stuff. His wife kicked him out of the kitchen because it was all sticky and,
Yeah.
there was just, he took it over with all of his beer stuff. And so started brewing down in his basement and garage and any place else he could do it. And first couple months, he would take a briefcase of beer because you could do this back in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah.
He'd have a briefcase full of beer, cold beer, and he would take it to different bars and be, "Hey, try this," or whatever. And most of them said, "Get out of here.
Yeah.
What are you doing?" No, I mean it didn't happen. That wasn't the way. There was one bar that said, "Okay, well, I'll try this," and the bartender, the owner, instantly knew, like, "Wait, you might be onto something here." There's a place called Doyle's. Doyle's is not too far from the brewery there in Jamaican Plains in Boston.
Okay.
So and that place has become kind of their experimental tap room. If you want to go tour Sam Adams, the Boston Beer Company, that's where you go in that part of Boston. And Doyle's, there's a free shuttle that runs between Doyle's and Sam Adams all day long, all the time.
Wow.
And it's like a party bus, and it is awesome.
Huh.
It is awesome.
And so the tours were free too, I saw.
Yep.
Most places you gotta pay for that.
So you go through the tour, and they walk you through more so than any other brewery I've ever been to. Is most of the tours are like, "Hey, just look at the stuff, and here's the stuff, and this is what happens, and now here's a free beer. See you later."
Yeah.
They walk you through the whole process. Like they have these big barrels full of hops, and you rub them together in your hand, and then you smell them.
Oh yeah.
Break
and those oils out.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then in the end, they take you into this big kind of beer hall with everybody else from the tour, and they sit down and they say, "Okay, here's beer number 1. This is Boston Lager," and everybody tries that. And then they hand out beer number 2. This is, I don't know, Rebel IPA, experimental something.
Oh yeah, I've seen that room on TV.
It's awesome.
I saw Conan did a remote there once.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Uh-huh.
And he tried to drink all the beers.
Yep.
He's like, "I'm gonna drink every one of these."
He mixed them all together
Yep.
like a suicide.
Yeah, because I remember everybody in the room had beard except for Jim. He didn't have one, but everybody else had huge long beards.
Remember the commercial back? It was probably not too awful long ago. I don't know, maybe 5-ish years ago. The brewer talking about it. So he's standing in front of the copper kettles, and he's got the big beard.
Oh, yeah.
That dude is one of the brewers. Like everybody you see on those commercials work there.
Yeah, he's got that like I work at Red Lobster sound. You know, like he had that accent.
Yes.
Like how crazy was it? Like most people are, because that was a big sponsor, like on baseball games and stuff. You'd see the commercials. I bet most people could have picked that dude out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just that big old beard and stuff. And that's
Yes.
like a look now every brewer has. You have to either have one or you have to put one on in the back room before you go brew. You have to have them hanging on a hook, I think. But
I think that's absolutely true.
that's his influence, I guess.
But yeah, he did it before anybody else, maybe. Well, who knows? But so Boston Lager, 6 weeks into being into distribution, was named the best beer in America at the Great American Beer Festival.
Wow.
So, and it's since won 4 different times.
I wonder when the Great American Beer Festival started.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Man, I might have to do some more research on there.
You might have to.
Because I'm wondering, like, how many beer, was this, they won and there were 7 entries, or was there 700 entries, or, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I'll dig into that. That
It'd be
sounds like
interesting
something I'd like
to see.
to know.
Yeah, back in the 80s, how
Yeah.
big was that? And was
How
it
did it
all
get started?
home brewers at that
Man,
point?
that sounds like a documentary I need to make. The history of the Great American Beer Fest.
I think you should.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get some.
Let's do it.
Let's get some funding for that.
First, we need to get tickets and go do some field research and get
should.
some footage, right, Dolan?
Yep, I think we should do that.
Yeah.
Look at Dolan's shaking his head. Yes.
Yeah, he's already planning the shots he needs.
So this is a fun little segue, maybe into what the research that you've done. But can you guess the name? Can you guess the name of the distributor, the first distributor for Samuel Adams?
Like his actual name?
The company
Name of the company?
The name of the company.
Oh my gosh, it's got to have to do something with Boston, right? I would guess.
I don't know. Might be closer to home than you think.
Really? No, I have no idea.
Atlas.
Really?
Atlas was the first distributor, not us, obviously.
I wish.
The distributor's name was Atlas.
That's cool.
That was fun. That's about 78 pages in.
So when you read that, were you here already at that time?
Yes.
Did that make your jaw drop open?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it. You were probably like, wow.
So it was about 3-ish years into our journey here at Atlas. And, we were just, so Steve had been here for about a year and a half, and we had really just kind of started taking off. Mm-hmm. And like we thought, okay, now we've gone from just surviving to thriving, right? To really and hiring recruiters and really just rolling. And I got to that like page 78 as I'm reading it, and I thought, this is meant to be.
Yeah,
like this is totally meant to be.
That's cool.
Wow. So give me, what did you do here?
Well, I did a couple things. One of them, I just did very base beer stuff because I think we've had a style similar to this. This is a Vienna Lager. Mm-hmm. It has Munich Pilsner, Vienna malt. Munich Pilsner malt and Vienna malt. So there's 3 to 4 different kinds of malts in this style of beer. They're named after Vienna, where they were created. So this is one of those, multiple 100-year-old styles of beer.
Yep.
Should be a little caramely and sweet. Mm-hmm. Kind of, they say it's supposed to be crisp, whatever that means. With a beer, I don't know. I don't know how is a liquid crisp. But I guess like in a cider, you kind of get that sort of thing. So it's dry-ish.
Yeah,
I
sharp,
suppose.
dry, yeah.
Yeah. And roasty toasty, so
It's
dark. It should be like a light amber-ish color. Mm-hmm. Another beer that's very similar to this, we talked about it, but we didn't try it. Dos Equis makes an amber that's very comparable to this one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Dos
it's the
Equis
same
amber.
style. Mm-hmm. Because some of the same people from the same areas moved to Mexico and took that recipe with them. So
Interesting.
That's another one that you might see around that is comparable to this.
Huh. That's Sam Adams. As much as Dos Equis is my go-to when it comes to a Mexican restaurant, Sam Adams is my safe beer when we go someplace, or my go-to when I don't want to drink anything else. Right?
This is like an Applebee's beer or an airport beer or the baseball game. Like everywhere you go, bowling alley, this is going to be around.
Yep,
for sure.
Yes.
So, have you been to this place? Obviously, you've been on the tour. Yep. I've never been to the tour. But I have had a couple of their beers before in Boston. I was at a bar, and they had a beer that you could only have at this place that Sam Adams brewed just for them.
Oh.
It was something like Red Brick something or other.
Oh.
And this bar, I wrote the name down.
It wasn't Doyle's?
No, it was called Bull and Finch.
I've been to that bar, too.
And you know what that is,
yeah,
right?
I do. Yes, I
So
have.
that's where we're going, Rich.
Bull and Finch.
Yeah, that's known now as Cheers. That's the Cheers bar.
That is correct.
In Boston. So that's what I did today. I did a little Cheers research because for 50 episodes, what I've been trying to do is have, conversations over beers, with beers, about beers, and just other trivial stuff too, right?
Yep.
That's the perfect culmination of Cheers.
That's true.
It's guys coming there every day after work, the same people sitting in the same place, telling stories, enjoying beer, and that's kind of what we're doing. So
Norm
I thought, boy, I can't beat that.
Cliff and Sam and Woody and Diane and
there you go. Let's go through them. I got the roster right here.
Okay.
The show started in September 30th, 1982, and it ended on May 20th, 1993.
Wow.
11 years.
11 years.
275 episodes.
Okay.
So just a few more than us.
Yep.
30 minutes apiece. Almost was canceled the first season. It was rated the 74th out of the 77 shows that were on primetime. And then I think they moved a time slot and something else happened. It's been nominated, or it was nominated 117 times for primetime Emmys, and they won 28 of those.
Nice.
Mostly for production and actors. Let's see. Let's go through some of those characters. You named a bunch. Dolan, do you know about Cheers?
I think I've seen it once.
Oh, my God. Well, I think it's on Netflix, I believe.
We were talking about the A-Team earlier. He had no idea who
You
the
probably thought it
A-Team
was that movie from 2000s with Bradley Cooper in it.
I hope
That's the one I remember, yeah.
God. All right. Well,
Sorry.
this is going to be for you and me, and then
There we go.
he can maybe watch it on YouTube or Netflix.
Sure, sure.
So, and he might know about this one. All right. So first is Sam Malone. Mm-hmm. What was his nickname on the show? Do you remember?
Sam Malone was...
Because he was an ex-baseball player. He was a relief pitcher.
He was?
For Boston in the show. And his nickname was Mayday Malone because they needed to get saved.
I do
Put
remember.
in Malone.
I do remember that.
As funny shows go, it was like, dealt with him with the interactions with the people in the bar. But also he was an alcoholic and a sex addict on the show. So that's hilarious, right? Yeah. Then Diane Chambers.
Oh, Diane.
Remember her?
Yes.
So the show was kind of a study. One of the things they did was it was a study of class in America. So there was quite a few characters, at least main ones. So like Diane and Frasier
Yes.
were supposed to be like the upper crust Harvard types in the Boston area. And then you've got like Norm and Cliff who paint houses and deliver mail, right?
Yep.
So it's like all those people coming together in this area.
Yep.
So Diane, she was a love interest for Frasier for a while, for like the
Right.
first few seasons.
Yeah.
They were going to get married. Spoilers, she left him at the altar, took off, and then that's when he met Lilith. Remember Lilith?
Yes.
She won an Emmy for that portrayal, I think, in 1990 for that.
She was fantastic in that
She was
role.
great. And then she followed him over to the Frasier show once in a while.
Yep.
So Frasier Crane, Leslie Grammer, is that his name?
Yes.
I think that's it, right?
Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, there you go, Kelsey. So he spun that off into the Frasier show, and he's played that character for like 20-something years.
Forever.
That was not the first spinoff of Cheers.
What?
In 1987, I found this interesting. I don't remember this at all. I put my note because I got it right here. There was a show called The Tortellis.
Oh, with
It was like Carla's family was like their show.
yes.
It was like her husband and their kid, and like it was 87. It made it 13 episodes, and then it was canceled because of the egregious American/Italian stereotypes. It was just so bad. Even in the 80s, they were like, "We can't have this on TV."
It's too much.
It's probably been just erased from YouTube. I would love to find it.
How bad could it?
I don't know.
Honestly,
Probably pretty awesome.
for the 80s.
Yeah, probably pretty bad.
All right.
So the guy that played her husband was an actor named Jay Thomas for a while, and he was an ex-hockey player. I found out that he had a radio show in L.A. He was a famous guy, and he had his own radio show, talk radio in the morning, and they were talking about the show, and he was saying, "Oh, it's great, except I have to kiss Rhea Perlman." Well, guess who was listening that day? Rhea Perlman was listening.
I think Dave DeVito.
And her sister, Rhea Perlman's sister, was a producer on the show and wrote a bunch of the episodes, like 30 or 40 episodes.
Yeah.
So that hockey player ended up dying in a Zamboni accident, and he never came back to the show. So don't talk. I mean, that's like a bad tweet or Instagram post back then.
Oh man.
So he got kicked off the show. So that was interesting. Woody. That's where most people our age
Yeah.
know Woody Harrelson. You know about Woody Harrelson?
Yeah.
Tell me
I've
what
heard
you
the
know
name.
about Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
That his name is Woody Harrelson.
Oh my
Harrison.
God.
Yeah.
Harrelson.
Have
you? All right, let's.
That's how
let's,
much I know.
Let's rapid fire Woody Harrelson stuff that he might know. White Men Can't Jump.
Oh yeah.
The Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
Really? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
All right.
What's the other thing?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
He was fantastic.
He was good.
in
That
Solo.
movie. I'm telling you what, that was a good one.
He was great.
I haven't seen
Underappreciated.
a lot of Star Wars.
What was the other thing he did? Zombieland.
Get Out. Dolan.
I like
What?
Zombieland.
Wait, what? Any of the Star Wars movies?
No, I've seen the old ones, but I haven't seen any of the new ones.
By old ones, do you mean Phantom Menace?
yes.
Sure.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
All right, Woody Harrelson. He's cool. Look him up.
He like-
His dad is a contract killer, murderer, or something like that.
Yes. I'm surprised you didn't do a little research on that.
Well, I didn't want to go too dark on 50.
So talk about that for a second. His dad was arrested.
Yeah.
He was one of the bums that they took off of the train cars after JFK was shot over the grassy knoll.
Really? I
They
didn't know
rounded
that.
up a bunch of bums
Yeah.
and hobos, whatever,
Yeah.
riding the train cars, right?
Right.
But his dad was like wearing nice clothes, but he was just hanging out there with the
Yeah.
train car hobos.
You think he's involved in this?
I don't know.
Whoa.
That was Woody's dad.
Blows my mind.
There you go.
Who else did I have in here? Oh, Rebecca Howe.
Uh-huh.
That
Who
was-
replaced Diane.
Yeah, that was Kirstie Alley. She was the only one of the main people on the show that never went and guested on Frasier. She was the only one that didn't do it.
Really?
Yeah. And then she had just a classic that is now being remade, Look Who's Talking. They're remaking those now. There's a reboot.
With the babies?
Yeah, with John Travolta.
Yeah.
And who's the voice of the baby? I don't remember. Was it Bruce Willis? I think it was.
Maybe.
I think it was. And then they had the coach. Unfortunately, he passed away.
It was sad when Coach passed away.
And the reason Woody Harrelson's character became on the show was to replace that person after he passed away. And they were pen pals on the show. But Woody and Coach both weren't very smart. So what that meant to them was they exchanged pens, Dolan. Pens, not letters. Pens.
They were pen pals.
Pen pals. So that's how that worked. And he came to Boston to meet him. And they said, oh, by the way, he passed away. You want to work here? And he's like, okay.
All right.
So he worked there. And at the end of the show, the last season,
Yeah.
he ran for political office and won. Woody Harrelson's character, Woody.
What?
Yeah, so he was like a state senator or something on the show.
Awesome.
And then we had Cliff and Norm. We talked about them.
Yep.
Norm is George Wendt, right? And Cliff is John Ratzenberger,
Correct.
Star Wars alum.
Another Star Wars alum.
Check it out, Dolan, Star Wars.
Yep.
He tried out for Norm's character.
Cliff did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there was no Cliff character.
Oh.
And they were like, okay, that was cool, but George Wentz got it. And as he was walking out, he said, these guys that were doing the casting were from L.A. and stuff, and he was from New England.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, do you guys have the bar know-it-all? Do you have that character? And they're like, what? And he was like, no, serious. Every bar has one of these on the East Coast. Everybody knows that guy. I don't know if that's real, but he talked him into like creating this character, and then he got that.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool,
Interesting.
right?
Here's I'll dig into a little Star Wars knowledge
Yeah,
here
do
for
it.
you. You know what his character's name on Star Wars was?
Dolan knows.
You only saw him twice.
What?
Ish. He was one of the he was one of the rebels on Hoth in
Okay.
Empire Strikes Back. His name was Major Bren Derlin.
Major Bren Derlin.
Bren Derlin.
That sounds like it could be a World War II name.
Could be.
Does he have an action figure?
He does not. No.
Sad day.
No.
He's in a movie that Dolan's seen. His
Okay.
voice is
All right.
Toy Story 3.
Wait,
Which one was he?
is that the one with the tortilla?
I don't know. He's the pig, man. That's all I know.
Oh yeah, he is the pig.
He's the
Yes.
piggy bank in the Toy Story series. How about Toy Story 4? Seen that one?
Nope.
Okay, well, he's in that too. Norm's real name on the show was Hillary Norm Peterson.
I don't
They
believe
dropped that is. They dropped the Hillary.
it. Hillary.
Yep, Hillary. That was a guy's name for a while.
Okay.
In 2011, there was a Spanish language version of the show created in Spain, and it was set in an Irish pub. And then in 2012, there was an Irish language version of the show, and that came out.
No.
These are real things. All right, what else did I have? Oh, yeah.
What?
We had the spinoff. Talked about Carla's husband. Frasier, the character was initially written for John Lithgow. He was
Oh.
supposed to play it.
I can see that.
That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had that, but the theme song, popular.
Mm-hmm. Everybody knows your name.
You know that song, Dolan?
Man. I don't even know.
All right.
I don't even know why we tried.
Why am I even including him on this?
Yeah.
They tried 3 different times for that. So the guys that wrote the song was a husband and wife duo.
Okay.
And they came from Broadway or off Broadway.
Sure.
And they had a musical that was out, and it wasn't very popular. So they decided they were hired to write the song. They said, well, how about we just take one that we already used in this play, and we'll just sneak it over here and get some money for it. And they were like, no. And they said, okay, well, how about if we just change the lyrics a little bit? And they tried it again, and they said, no, 2 times. One more strike, and you're out.
Okay.
So then they said, well, maybe we should watch it. So they watched the pilot, and they came up with the idea, and they wrote the lyrics, and that's how we got the song.
No kidding.
So it's like a, not necessarily a one-hit wonder, because they did like jingles and stuff too.
Oh.
And they done some like Broadway stuff, but that was like their only charted song. And I remember as a kid in Lincoln, at night on the easy listening radio station, that song would come on.
You play,
It's like,
yeah.
so good. It's on one of my playlists, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Here's some celebrities that made cameos or actors that were on the show. Let's see if you know some of these. Fred Dyer. Do you know that name?
Kind of.
He was an ex-football player. I think he played for the LA Rams back in the day. He had a show in the 80s that I know you watched. It was called Hunter.
Hunter, yes.
That was him.
Oh.
He was supposed to be Sam Malone.
Oh,
But they liked Ted Danson better.
that would have been different.
Yeah, so he actually was on the show. He was like, had a reoccurring character for like 5 episodes.
Okay.
And he was like one of Sam's buddies or something.
Like baseball buddies or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Tom Skerritt.
Yes.
Know him? From, what was that show he was on?
Hill Street Blues.
Is that what it was? I don't know. There's another Picket Fences. That's the one I know him from.
Oh, there we
Remember
go.
that show?
That's what I was looking for.
Lisa Kudrow was on the show.
From Friends, yeah.
Harry Anderson from Night Court.
Judge.
Harold T. Stone.
There we go.
But his character on this show was Harry the Hat because he wore a hat.
Oh, and didn't he do magic tricks
He
and
did.
stuff? That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
There was a lady named Jean Kasem. She was one of Sam's love interests.
Okay.
Casey Kasem's wife also happened to be an actress.
Wow.
Who's the voice of Shaggy on the Scooby-Doo cartoons.
Casey,
for Norm.
not Jean.
Yeah, Jean, she's not a voice on that.
Yes.
Let's see who else. Okay, that was actors that were in there. Here's celebrities and stuff. Alex Trebek.
Trebek was on.
You got to realize this was like one of the top shows of its time, and it's been rated as like one of the top 10 all-time shows.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that was so popular. Like it was kind of like a Saturday Night Live. Like if you were famous, you had to get on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Arsenio Hall was on it. Dick Cavett, remember him?
Yes.
Johnny Carson was on the show. What the heck is?
Sorry, I get excited.
Dolan's mad.
Johnny
We
Carson?
haven't given him any beer yet. So
I know.
he's getting mad. He's getting angry.
Is that what it is?
He's
My
shaking his
goodness,
cage.
Here.
Hey, I actually
Take
knew.
some I
actually knew a few of those names.
Okay.
Couple.
Just,
there you
just
go.
a couple.
Well, here's a few more. John Kerry, Senator.
Senator Kerry.
Yeah, him. Michael Dukakis, Robert Kennedy's wife, widow.
Okay.
She was on it. This guy named George McFarland. You might know him as Spanky.
Yeah.
He was on the show.
From our gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the show as an old guy. Harry Connick Jr. was on an episode. Emma Thompson, Christopher Lloyd from Taxi and Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. Yeah.
John Cleese. Marsha Cross. She was a redheaded actress that was on some Fox show when I was in junior high. So
Okay.
she was kind of famous. Tom Berenger, the Righteous Brothers. I don't know how that happened.
Whoa.
I would like to see that one because that makes no sense to me. A band from 35 years before. Kate Mulgrew. Does that name mean anything to you?
Yes. Yes.
She was on there. She was from some version of Star Wars or Star Trek Generation or something like
Star
that.
Trek.
maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely Star Trek.
Carol Kane. She's a comedic actress. You'd know her if you saw her.
Okay.
Barbara Feldon. I like this one. She was on Get Smart back in the 60s.
Wow.
She was one of Sam's girlfriends on the show.
Wow.
And then this other one was Valerie Mahaffey. Another one of those that you'd know her if you saw her. She was on Northern Exposure, Wings, a couple other shows. She usually played like crazy characters.
Sweet.
Like pretty but crazy.
Interesting.
That was
Okay.
her character type. Let's see. The first season, everything was shot in the set of the bar.
Okay.
The whole, everything.
Yep.
In the front room or the back room where they shot pool or the office. Then it was only after that did they start leaving the bar. They went to like Diane's apartment for the first time, like season 2, episode 3 or 4.
Okay.
They had their very first season, which was I think 82, 83. They had an episode called Boys in the Bar. And it was basically one of Sam's ex-teammates came and had put out an autobiography. And he came out as gay in the episode. And some of the other people that were at the bar were mad about this. And they're like, don't let this become a gay bar. And Sam was like, hey, they want to come here? Cool. Bring it. We don't care.
Sure.
We're going to let anybody come to this bar. And it won an award.
Like 86?
82, 83.
Really?
Like the first season.
Good for
So
that.
they won like a GLAAD award for like inclusivity and
Wow.
representation and stuff like that. So kind of open. It's strange that they have that episode, but then 5 years later they have a show canceled for stereotypes. So I don't know. Maybe different writers.
Maybe.
Carla, Norm, and Sam were the only ones in every episode.
Okay.
And Cliff made it all but one. So maybe he was sick one day or something
Maybe.
and he didn't get that one. So
Maybe.
he was in 274. And let's see what else we have. Anything else that sounds interesting? People that would always complain on the TV, they would always say the laugh track was too loud.
Oh.
But it was taped in front of a live studio audience, so it was actual people laughing to the real jokes. It was just so great.
Real laughing.
Yeah, the laughing was so loud that people complained, and they thought it was fake.
It was a funny show.
And that's what I know.
In my
about
head,
Cheers.
and you mentioned Wings and Northern Exposure. Like these are shows that I watched when I was a kid. Like in my head, even now, like they all existed in the same universe, right?
They did, yes, because a lot of these characters like bounced around different sitcoms and shows as their characters from Cheers. I think it was NBC, I think is the people that had the show.
I think you're right.
So pretty much they own it. And then it got sold out, I think. Maybe CBS ended up with some of the reruns. The Cheers bar itself it's like a chain now, I guess. They have them in airports and stuff around.
Yep.
And CBS owns that, I read.
Interesting.
Because they had like a deal with Paramount Pictures. I think that was the TV who put this stuff out, and then CBS bought that out, and then they inherited the rights to this Cheers bar.
So you can go in Boston. This is one of the things we did after the tour. This was after the games. We'd seen the games and stuff, and then we kind of just did the kitschy tour that that you would do the open air bus, which I would absolutely recommend to anybody. Like if you want to get the most, it seems super touristy, and it is.
Yeah.
But then again, it's not. And you get to see all these things that you wouldn't normally, that you couldn't just find on your own. And so we went to Cheers. I had a Boston Lager there. I mean, it's a replica of. It looks like it. I mean, it's there. The sign's outside. I got pictures outside the sign with my brother, and
it's one of those things you can if you can do it, you should do it for sure.
Absolutely.
Boston's one of those cool towns because it's like the history is so old, right? Like 150 years more than us almost in Nebraska. But then it's also very clean, modern, and you know, brand new stuff too. It's weird. I went there with my wife. She was for a conference, so I had the days to myself with no car. So I just walked around everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was walking. I would go get Dunkin' Donuts because we didn't have that in Nebraska yet. So I was like, "Ooh, Dunkin' Donuts!" And I'd walk past the Dunkin' Donuts, and there was a cemetery that had Paul Revere's grave in it.
Yeah,
like 250-year-old tombstones just next to the Dunkin' Donuts. You're like, this is insane.
That's crazy.
And I have some cool pictures from that too. I had a lot of fun in Boston.
I ate a lot of lobster rolls.
Lobster.
That's my rule when you go any place close to a beach, right? If it's coastal, I only eat food that comes out of the ocean.
Wow.
That's my rule. Because I love it. I love seafood. I love fish and lobster.
Yeah, you can't get that stuff really around here.
You
I mean, you can.
Yeah,
you just might not want it.
It's just not the same.
Yeah.
You can get some crawfish.
You got to fly them in, man.
Yeah.
I guess.
And then they get here and they taste like dirt, and it's just...
Well, that's true. Well, you got to decomp. You got to decomp them a little bit. You got to leave them in the clean, cold water for a day. Get that stuff out.
So here's what really struck me, going back to Jim Cook. Here's what really struck me as interesting. One, he's got a couple different rules that have stuck with the company and with the brewery. And one of them is you got to have fun. Because if you're not having fun making beer, then what are you doing here?
Yeah, you don't want to take it too serious.
Exactly.
Think. You'll taste it.
They take beer very seriously. They don't take themselves very seriously. And I that was one of those things kind of as I grew and learned here, like how to run a company and how to hire people and what to look for and then what to do every day when, we don't measure the measurables. And so how do you kind of keep it fun and alive and fresh? And that made a big impact on me. There's also, and this is something that I think we have here to a certain extent. It's not an actual rule that we have written on the wall or anyone. They have a rule, and so affectionately they call it the FU rule.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the book, it actually says the fuck rule. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ding ding.
It's okay. It's episode 50.
That's
what
right.
are you gonna do?
That's a different F word.
Anybody in the brewery can say FU to anybody else, including Jim, if you can back it up. Right?
Oh, okay.
If they're doing something that isn't
right,
that isn't in line with who they are and what they do, you can say that. But you got to be able to back it up, though. You can't just be a dick about it. Right? You got to be able to back it up.
Probably, like the Boy Who Cried Wolf sort of scenario plays there, I would bet.
Yeah.
That's cool.
The other thing I thought that really stuck with me, too, was how much they currently help, and helped other breweries along the way. So as much as they were a competitor, to Big Beer and whatever, and to the other breweries that popped up around the area or whatever. They helped them build their competitors. So in 2008, was it 2008? Yeah, 2008, there was a worldwide hops shortage. And Sam Adams they had a stockpile of hops. And so some of the smaller brewers there in Boston and in that area couldn't produce beer. So he sold their hops to them at cost. And
he could have way marked it up.
Yep, absolutely.
Probably could have closed some businesses doing that.
Yeah. He selected 108 different craft breweries and divided 20 pounds of hops. 20,000 pounds. Sorry.
Dang. That's a lot
amongst
of hops.
them, yes. In 2008, Jim created the Brewing the American Dream program. And so then as of just 3 years ago, and I need to catch up on my research here, as of 3 years ago, the company's helped more than 4,000 entrepreneurs as a lending partner, making 400 loans for $400 million.
Dang. Is it all beer-related stuff?
All beer-related.
Wow,
yeah.
That's cool.
And I'm sure you've seen this too. Every year they do the long shot homebrew competition.
Tim Thompson from Lincoln, the guy that is the boiler brewer, he won that one year.
Yes, he did.
That was a really good beer.
That's where Boiler came from.
Yep.
Yeah. So they have a competition for home brewers, and there's a cash prize, and he turned that into a brewery.
It's kind of fun because they usually do it's like 3 different winners, and they have 2 beers a piece in the 6-packs, so you get to try 3 different ones.
I always look forward to that every year. I see it, and I'm not exactly sure what time of year. I just happen to see it in the store usually and pick it up. And there's some pretty amazing stuff that comes out of there.
Yeah, there's some really. Yeah, because you have to be a home brewer, I think, too.
Yes.
Is what that is, right? So you can't be like a professional brewer at that point in time.
No.
There was a show on, and it's not on anymore. And if you can find it, I think you would really like to watch this show.
Okay.
It's called Brew Dogs. And Brew Dog is a brewery, and they're out of Europe, like England maybe, or Ireland, Scotland, something like that.
Okay.
They're pretty famous over there. They have a lot of different breweries in different countries, tap rooms and stuff like that. And they only have a few of their beers here. They have a small footprint in the United States.
Okay.
But in Europe, they're like the craft brew people, right? Well, their 2 owners, they have their own breweries, and separate. They used to be home brewers and they had their own stuff.
Okay.
And then they combined and became this brewery.
Okay.
And they're both just goofy dudes, right?
Sweet.
So their TV show was they would come over to the United States and they would go to a brewery like this one, and they would talk about, okay, what's your flagship beer? How do you make it? How'd you get into business? And then throughout the episode, after they talk to them, they go to some other smaller ones. They have a listing of top 10 beers in Cincinnati or top 10 beers in Boston, local beers, right?
Oh.
And then they converted people that had never tried craft beer. They'd just be out on the street and they'd be like, hey, do you like craft beer? And they're like, no, I hate it. And they're like, well, here, drink this. And then a lot of times they'd be like, this is good. You know?
I would love this show.
The show is amazing. Well, one of the episodes was with this guy.
With Jim Cook.
Yeah, he was on.
Awesome.
And they were making a sour, some sort of sour. And this goes to how you were talking about how he likes to have fun, right? So they had a huge wooden tank of this beer, open air tank.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we need to sour the beer today. And it's like, we could throw this chemical in it, or we could just get in the tank. And they're like, what?
Like physically
Yeah,
get
and they're
in...
like, okay. So they all got down to their boxers and jumped in the tank, and they're just sitting there drinking Sam Adams beer, and he's spoiling this beer on purpose in this big tank.
Get out.
That was when I was like, oh, yeah, this guy... Can you imagine somebody else doing that?
Yeah. No,
I don't think so. And he was just like, oh, okay. And they got in the tank and spoiled this sour beer on purpose.
Awesome.
To crank the time up. Yeah, so then that was an episode, just a Boston episode. But they had San Diego. They did the Stone guy was on.
Oh, nice.
They've had just about any big one that we've talked about. They've had an episode. I think it was on 2 or 3 years.
So, I watch it on YouTube or something?
You might be able to find it. I'll have to look.
Okay.
It used to be on the Esquire channel or something like that back in the day. It was like a higher up cable channel, and it's so great. And the beers they make are crazy. They're the ones. I don't know if you ever heard this. They made the strongest beer in the world, and it came in a taxidermied squirrel. Do you remember this?
No.
You never heard about this story? So they made this beer. It was like 90%.
Oh God.
And
How's that even a beer?
Technically it's a beer.
Okay.
And it comes, I think they made 5 bottles of it, and it comes in a dead squirrel's, like taxidermy squirrel, and it's inside the squirrel.
Oh no.
So you have to like drink it out of the squirrel. And that's the kind of stuff they like to do. Like they're just funny.
All
One of the
right.
ones they did was an Anchor steam. What's the one in San Francisco?
Anchor Steam.
Yeah. Because that's where I learned about how they brew the beer on the tops of the buildings and stuff.
Yep.
Like they go and then that was their challenge, was they would try to make a beer like theirs, right? So like, okay, well, if this is how they make it, we're going to make one too. So they made a beer in San Francisco by capturing the fog. That was their water source.
Oh.
So they have an engineer that comes with them over to the United States.
Okay.
And they're like, okay, here's what we want to do. We want to make a beer, and the only liquid in it has to come from the cloud. Figure it out. Or we want to brew a beer, but we're going to be on a river, on a raft, like a Huck Finn. We have to figure out how we can do this. And then the guy comes, it takes him like a couple of days to figure it out, their engineer.
So it's like half beer, like half Mythbusters.
Kind of,
then.
and it's also like a travel show.
Okay.
And it's comedy because the guys are really funny. It was I loved it. And then it was gone and it never came back. But if you can find that show, it was cool because it was a way to see other breweries that we didn't get in Nebraska quite yet.
Sure.
And learn about because it was always the founder of was the guy from Stone or
Right.
the guy from this place or whatever. So if anybody can find that show, check it out. It's well worth a watch.
You probably ruined my afternoon now because that's what I'm going to do.
Can I ask
Yeah.
where the beer came out of the squirrel?
His mouth.
Okay.
His mouth was pried open.
Only you would ask where the beer came out of the squirrel.
Maybe for another $1,000, because I think it was like $1,000 or $2,000, $5,000 for this beer. Maybe for another couple $100, you could come out the other way if you wanted. If that's up to you.
I guess. So Sam Adams makes this beer. I know you've heard and seen it. The Utopias.
Yep.
Is that the one?
Yep.
The super high proof.
Oh yeah.
$200 like looks like a brew kettle.
It tastes like it too.
I've never seen it for sale.
Well, you can go to Big Dogs. They always have one.
Do
there.
they have it
Yep,
there?
I've seen it there.
Still $200, right? Something like that. $250, something like that.
You know what you got to do? This is what I did. You get like 4 guys together,
Okay,
and you pool your money and you drink it,
I would do that.
because that's the only way. Otherwise, you're like, this is too much. But you know what? Some of these 4-packs we're buying are like $25.
I know.
Or a bottle of mead is $35.
Yeah,
In the grand scheme of things, I don't know.
that's true.
It's not that. It's not like you're buying whiskey.
I'd go in if I could keep the bottle after it's over.
I think why not?
I'd pay a little extra just
Get that.
to
Yeah,
be the
to
one
have
that
it on
kept
your bar.
Yep.
Because that stuff lasts forever. It's so strong. Like, you
Yeah.
can just... I know people that have bought it and they drink it once a year. They just pour some out every year for like a few years and see how that changes.
I would totally do that someday. Someday maybe I'll get my hands on one of those,
Yeah.
and who knows?
Yeah, they're hardly around. There's like one in Omaha.
I've never I've heard the Hy-Vees had it.
Probably locked up in the case.
I think
or
last
something.
year they got 2, and then they instantly sold out. So
That's crazy.
yeah, so that's Sam Adams. I think this was it's strong. It's not a typical lager. Like if you are a lager drinker, it is way stronger than in flavor,
Yeah,
not
'cause
necessarily
ABV. It's only 5.
right. In
It has 30 IBUs. It says, which is hardly any. That's what it says on the box.
I could see that. I guess I could see that. That's
I would say this thing would pair really good with just about any sort of food. You know what I mean?
Anything.
It would go good with a cheesy hamburger and French fries or pizza.
chicken wings,
Yeah.
pizza, tacos.
It's very open to that. I think it would mix pretty good.
All right, so as we always do, here is the Untapped
How many people have checked it in Untapped? Because I looked at a number. I didn't want to look at Untapped because I knew you would.
Yep.
So I looked at Beer Advocate,
Okay.
which is another similar site, but it's way more nerdy.
Mm-hmm.
And there was 9,594 ratings of it on there.
That doesn't seem like very much.
But this is like
Super beer nerd.
This is like crisp mouthfeel, pillowy hop resin, like that sort of, like
Yep.
just okay. You could have said that in one sentence. I don't need 5 paragraphs. That sort of site. So that was I thought a lot, because the next closest style of this Vienna Lager one was from Great Lakes Brewing Company,
Okay.
Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald is the beer, and it had like 1,000 check-ins.
Oh, wow.
So this one was way more.
Way more. So 382,000 check-ins.
Dang.
That's a ton.
382,000.
Yes. One of my friends has already
That's like-
checked that in.
I bet it was me.
It is you.
What did I rate it as?
You rated it a 3.
Huh.
Yeah.
Taste change.
What's the what do you think the average is?
I'm going to say the average is 3.42.
You cheated and looked.
I didn't. I swear I did. I swear I didn't. Is it really?
3.42.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Dude, I didn't look. When did I check that in? How long ago?
Let's see. What April 23rd, 2013.
That was 6 years ago.
So that would have been maybe the beginnings of your beer journey. No,
I
okay.
was 2 or 3 years in already by then.
Okay.
I just finally checked one in probably. I wonder where I was. Did I location that? Because that was probably on purpose.
Let me see here. It doesn't say view details. It does not say
bummer.
where you checked it in, unfortunately. No.
And how many times? 300 and what?
382,000.
That's the same amount of beers Dolan had in Vegas last year.
That is true. That's 100%. And I have pictures to prove it.
Wow.
That's true. I as these go, I know I haven't given out too many 5s along the way.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. But as this beer goes, Vienna style, German style lager, this style here, if it's not a 4.75, it's a 5. Right. I mean, it's just, and it's it's the whole body of work. It's everything. It's what it meant to me as with Atlas and our growth as a company, and how many, when rereading the book again and reading some of the stuff and things he would have done differently and things that he did right and he just didn't even know he was doing them right. And I took a lot from that book and from him, and so it's definitely much like the ABV 5. It is
a 5 capper.
It's a 5 for me.
50, episode 50.
For episode 50.
My only personal connection to this really was, this is what I drank in Vegas last year when I bought those Billy Joel tickets drunk at the hotel at 8 in the morning on my phone.
Good job.
I was drinking these on tap. So
again, it's a safe one.
Less cool than your story, but here we are.
Yeah. So 50 episodes in. Brian, I thank you so much for being my co-pilot here.
This has been so much fun. More fun than I anticipated. It's been fun to see how it's changed and evolved, and all the jokes we make at Dolan's expense and the guests we have. It's been a lot of fun.
It's only going to get better from here. We've got a lot of fun beers coming up here through the end of the year.
Yeah.
We're going to do a lot in the fall. We're going to hit some good October beers. And
I feel like if you've been with us this far, we're kind of over the introduction beers. I think we're ready to ramp it up.
That's true. The newbies need to catch up. Go listen to the old ones, catch up, and let's have some fun over the next 50 plus.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, Brian, we're not going anywhere for a while.
Let's have another beer.
Thank you for listening to A Beer with Atlas. Special thanks to our brand team for producing the show. Each episode of A Beer with Atlas is powered by Atlas MedStaff, an industry leader in travel healthcare staffing.